It was a girl's period, but when her classmates found out, they immediately took away her sanitary products just because of her rank. It turns out that class 2 to 5 of the girls' high school has a strange rule. Every Thursday, a pyramid game must be played. Simply put, students vote for each other, and based on the number of votes, they are divided into B, C, and D ranks. Most notably, lower-ranked students cannot challenge higher-ranked ones. Outside of the pyramid, there's one more rank. Those who receive 0 votes are designated as F rank. Both F rank students and those who refuse to participate are endlessly bullied. Each person can vote for 5 people but cannot vote for themselves or vote for the same person twice. Participation is completely voluntary. The story begins a week earlier when the new transfer student, Suji, arrives. While reporting in, she accidentally gets stepped on by a short-haired girl with a bob cut, who apologizes and kindly tells her that the teacher's office for second-year students is on the 4th floor. However, Suji is puzzled. How did the girl know where she was headed? The homeroom teacher, who knows Suji's brother, takes Suji to a remote but luxurious building and explains that there's only one class here, class 2 to 5. With extensive experience transferring schools, Suji knows that to fit in quickly, there are 2 types of people to avoid. The troublemaker student with long black nails has a burnt scar on his face and tattoos all over her arms. She looks nothing like a good student. After class, a few classmates come over to chat, including the foolish Harin, but before they exchange a few words, the long-nailed troublemaker stands up and silently walks out of the classroom. The others say they're most afraid of her, and Harin quickly changes the topic, introducing the popular idol trainee. Just then, the class leader announces that the next period is music class, and anyone who's late will be locked out. After school on the first day, when Suji leaves the classroom, everyone suddenly turns and stares at her back, creating an eerie atmosphere. In the following days, she tries to get along with her classmates, except for the long-nailed troublemaker, who always smells of smoke, confirming her belief that she's a bad student. Thursday arrives, and Suji accidentally steps on the troublemaker's shoe, appearing very scared, but luckily no conflict arises. During gym class in the afternoon, Suji notices the troublemaker sitting with the school's bullies. A chubby classmate quickly consoles her, saying it must be hard being desk mates with someone like her. But in reality, the bully's target is the long-nailed troublemaker. Suji is puzzled. If she's an outcast, why is everyone still so afraid of her? She feels that the long-nailed troublemaker is quietly enduring being bullied. At this moment, Suji barges in, announcing the start of a game organized by the class. Hearing this, the troublemaker quickly tells Suji to return to the classroom. Inside, everyone is seated neatly, seemingly waiting for her. The class leader steps up to the blackboard and explains the rules of the pyramid game. During the voting, Suji and the chubby classmate protect Suji, thinking that even if she's protected, she'd at least get 1 vote and avoid becoming a lower rank. However, when the voting ends, the chubby classmate's rank rises to C, and she proudly declares herself a C rank. Meanwhile, Suji's rank is F. She received 0 votes. What follows is a living nightmare. The bullies constantly torment her, first blowing smoke in her face. Then the bullying began again, while the rest of the class acted as if they saw nothing, turning a blind eye to everything happening. Suji wasn't foolish. She hid in the restroom and noticed she had no visible injuries, meaning the bullies deliberately left no evidence. However, the bullying continued relentlessly. Some might wonder why the bully always blows a whistle first. It's because she wants to train Suji like a dog. After the game started, the surveillance cameras mysteriously stopped working. Suji tried to secretly record audio as evidence of the bullying, but she was intercepted by Harin, who kindly warned her not to go inside. The bullies were looking for F-ranked students. Despite her caution, Suji was still targeted by the bullies every day. One day, Suji noticed the bullies seemed to fear the idol trainee. As the bullying continued, Suji came up with an idea. Harin had mentioned that F-ranked students included others, specifically the long-nailed troublemaker. The class ranking was interesting. Only Suji and the troublemaker were F-rank, while most were stuck between C and D. Before Suji could fully understand the rankings, she was interrupted by the returning troublemaker, who dragged her into the woods. Suji proposed a plan. They could copy what the others were doing and vote for each other, then together threaten the person with the most votes, falsely claiming to vote for them. Even gaining just one more vote would make things easier. If 12 people voted for each other, someone else might end up as F rank instead. However, the class leader anticipated Suji's strategy and wasn't worried, knowing that the troublemaker would never vote. Just as expected, the troublemaker firmly rejected the plan, unwilling to let innocent people suffer. She even called Suji despicable. Since mutual voting was out of the question, Suji decided to find the mastermind behind the game. Initially, she suspected the idle trainee, but the trainee admitted she wasn't the organizer. While Suji was pondering who it could be, the timid classmate approached her and insisted they talk during music class. Unfortunately, the bully overheard. It turned out the timid classmate and the troublemaker were childhood friends. They had promised to vote for each other, but the timid classmate backed out of fear. Suji realized the timid classmate wanted to use her to ease her guilt, which Suji could exploit, but it wasn't a real solution. What if the timid classmate backed out again? The true organizer had to be found. Just then, the bully started tormenting Suji again, and she was tortured until he vomited. The class leader looked worriedly toward someone, seemingly the idle trainee, but the real mastermind was someone else. The true organizer was the one who had been burning the troublemaker's hand with cigarette butts, explaining the constant smell of smoke on her. Before Suji transferred schools, the bully had specifically instructed the principal to place her in this class. The real mastermind was none other than Harin, the girl who had once stepped on Suji's shoe and offered encouragement. The teacher, motivated by money, not only tolerated the bullying but also used videos of the tormented students to blackmail them. Suji had guessed Harin was the game's organizer, but she pretended not to know, accepting her fake concern. Meanwhile, she pondered whether defeating Harin or recruiting the troublemaker would be easier. In fact, the day before, the troublemaker had pleaded with Harin to target only her and not hurt others. However, Harin immediately guessed the others, referred to Suji and burned the troublemaker's palm. The next day, Suji continued to endure the bullying. Suddenly, she realized something. During the 10-minute break, she snuck out and returned to the classroom with the teacher. It would be much better this way, but there's no escaping the 1-hour lunch break. To avoid leaving evidence, the bullies never make a move after school. This building seems like it was designed specifically to serve the game. There's only one isolated class monitor. If it wasn't a coincidence, then it's definitely not something a student could have pulled off alone. So Suji wasn't sure whether the teachers were aware of it. She approached the homeroom teacher to ask about the surveillance system. A female teacher nearby took over and said that there's only one class monitor in the whole building, so there was no need to install cameras. In a daze, Suji recalled the class leader's personal information. Her father runs a large hospital. And it seemed like the class leader could see through Suji's intentions. As soon as she stepped out of the office, she warned her not to rely on the homeroom teacher. Suji immediately searched for information about the hospital. Only then did she find out that Harin's father and the class leader's father were business partners. She also noticed that the public board had a display of top-ranking students in the game. Among them were a national silver medalist in judo, a bronze medalist in the 200-meter World Swimming Championship. In fact, the parents of these students maintained shockingly powerful connections. That was strange. What secret was this class hiding? To get to the bottom of it, Suji took the initiative to approach Harin and asked who created the game and why. Harin admitted bluntly, it was just for fun. After this conversation, Suji realized how twisted Harin was. It seemed like persuading Jaun would be easier than defeating her. As soon as Suji returned to the class monitor post, round glasses pushed her, blaming her for going out during every break and causing trouble for lower-ranked students. The more Suji thought about it, the angrier she got. Why did she deserve to be bullied? Why should she consider others? Just as she finished venting, she saw the usual victim nearby and thought he shouldn't go too far, or the person would be scared and turn against her. So she reined in her temper and secretly planned to get Jaun and the victim to vote for each other in the next round. The key was the kind-hearted Jaun. In front of her, Suji acted pitiful, constantly complaining about being bullied at school, hoping they could vote for each other next time. But no matter how hard she tried, Jaun still refused. More accurately, she refused to play the game. At that moment, Suji noticed a burn on her hand and immediately guessed Harin was responsible. But no matter how she tried to persuade her, Jaun wouldn't agree. Instead, she suggested voting for Seolha and the girl with long hair, saying they seemed kind too. To make Jaun see the truth, Suji brought her to meet those two. As expected, they were met with a torrent of insults from Seolha and the long-haired girl. After facing reality, Jaun became unusually calm. She quietly said, "Let's leave." The usual victim Harin took the initiative to approach Suji and revealed that, aside from her and Jaun, all the classmates had been promoted together last year. That's also why there had already been 13 rounds of the game. Suji immediately realized that although this person acted like she felt guilty toward her friend, in reality, she just wanted to avoid the risk of being ranked F. The next day in class, Jaun didn't show up. The trainee gave Suji a meaningful glance. It turned out that Jaun had been verbally abused to the point of quitting the day before. Harin had been standing right next to her. She said Jaun's departure was actually to protect Suji. Harin then threatened her, saying if she really cared, she should stop coming to school. That afternoon, after being bullied again, Suji was looking for Harin and ran into the trainee. Because Harin's mother was actually the chairwoman of the school board. That same afternoon, the school launched an anti-bullying report campaign. Now that Jaun couldn't be reached and her own ranking wasn't improving, the campaign seemed like Suji's only hope. But she wasn't sure if reporting to the homeroom teacher would actually help. Still, she decided to try. Yet just as she was about to come clean, the class leader suddenly showed up and interrupted her. After school that day, Suji tried again to report to the homeroom teacher, but once more, the class leader stopped her, saying that the more she tried to report, the worse things would get. That day during PE class, the teachers noticed Suji was being bullied. The homeroom teacher took the initiative to approach her and asked if she felt unwell. Suji thought of a plan. She asked to be taken to the nurse's office. After months of trying, finally, this time, the class leader wasn't able to stop her. Little did she know what awaited ahead was an even deeper abyss. Suji reported that she was being bullied in class. The homeroom teacher admitted that last year, there was another strong-willed student who faced the same situation. He promised to step in this time. Just when Suji thought she was saved, the teacher suddenly pulled out a phone to record a video, asking her to describe her experience to the camera. But the students had already seen through this tactic. They were discussing it in their rank-based group chats. The homeroom teacher was just another pawn in this twisted game. The teacher's patience waned when he found no visible injuries on Suji's body, meaning there was no evidence of bullying. Suddenly, the water heater beside them started boiling. It became clear the homeroom teacher planned to fabricate evidence of a burn injury, then use it to blackmail the parents of the bullies and pocket the compensation money himself. At that moment, loud banging came from outside, with someone calling out Suji's name. It was the long-nailed troublemaker. She rushed in, threw the teacher's phone into the water, and dragged Suji out. The two sprinted to the rooftop, where the troublemaker played a video. It showed Yirim being forced by the bullies to strip. Yirim had reported the bullying to the homeroom teacher, but instead of helping, the teacher took the evidence and used it to blackmail the bullies' families. Suji was curious how the troublemaker name, Jaun, managed to appear so timely. It turned out that when she arrived at school today, she submitted a withdrawal application. Suddenly, someone sent her a photo of the homeroom teacher with Suji. Regarding the withdrawal, Harin told the principal to keep the homeroom teacher's mouth shut. Additionally, Suji wanted to know how close Jaun and Harin were. Now that things had come to this point, Suji sincerely begged Jaun to join the game, so the two of them could escape the S level, or rather, destroy the pyramid. Moved by Suji's sincerity, Jaun finally agreed to his proposal. Time flew, and Thursday arrived. The 14th game officially began. According to Suji's plan, the two of them, along with round glasses and long-haired protector, would ensure their final levels were low. However, an unexpected event occurred after the voting ended. Suji ultimately received 5 votes. Suji deliberately knocked her pen to the feet of the chubby classmate. Just a few hours ago, the same people who looked down on her now gingerly picked up the pen from the ground and handed it to the girl, due to the difference in their levels. It turned out that in the 14th game, Suji received 5 votes, raising her rank to C level. The game's initiator, Harin, trembled with rage at the result. It's worth mentioning that Jaun received 2 votes, placing her at D level. However, Jaun couldn't feel happy. She didn't understand why round glasses had dropped to F level, which was different from the plan. But Suji didn't care, as it was a good thing for her. She speculated that round glasses' good friend, long-haired protector, received 3 votes, indicating this person had made 3 new friends and abandoned round glasses. Upon hearing this, Jaun wanted to find a way to turn the situation around, even if it meant quitting the game. But Suji refused. Jaun quickly realized that since Suji was no longer in F level, she no longer wanted to participate. Although Suji didn't explicitly say it, she implied that when she was in F level, round glasses did nothing to help her, so now they were even. Jaun hoped Suji would keep her promise and completely destroy the pyramid game. After returning to class, everyone's attitudes had clearly changed. Suji decided to test the rankings. This led to the scene at the beginning. Just as Wu-ai was about to bully round glasses, the class monitor suddenly stopped her, clarifying that the F-level rotation would only begin the day after voting. This indirectly saved round glasses. Meanwhile, the friendship between Suji and Jaun seemed completely severed. At noon, while Suji was buying food at the convenience store, the cashier glanced at her phone and asked who would be the next person in danger, as if familiar with the pyramid game. Just then, a customer walked in, and Suji didn't think much of it. Since her rank rose to C level, many classmates had started greeting her, and Suji generously forgave them, thinking they might need to exchange votes in the next round. Within a few days, she had grown close to the other C-level students, distancing herself from Jaun. The trainee noticed this change over the past couple of days and admitted to voting for her. Suji speculated that anyone helping her likely wanted something in return, though the trainee hadn't decided what yet. That night, the more Suji thought about it, the stranger things seemed. Extra votes from lower-ranked players would only be cast for other low-ranked players, as they needed to restrain each other. Excluding those votes, who would have voted for her and why? The next day, Harin gave the principal an assignment. Immediately after, the homeroom teacher announced the new grading system for the second semester. Students would rate each other, with 5 points as the maximum score and deductions down to a minimum of 30 points. After explaining the system, the teacher left. In reality, the scores were predetermined. Harin had instructed the principal to use scores prepared in advance on a USB drive. Her own score was a perfect 50. The class monitor then suggested everyone stand in their expected score positions, and the students, seemingly understanding the implication, lined up accordingly. Suji quickly realized that everyone had aligned themselves according to their pyramid game rankings, giving her a sense of dread. Determined to find out who had voted for her, she stood on the podium the next day and voiced her suspicion that the voting system was flawed, noting how similar the results were each time, especially the rankings. Developer Nahi, who created the software, claimed that tampering would cause the program to crash. Suji questioned whether any real evidence of cheating existed. Nahi then suggested a way to test the system. Everyone would anonymously cast votes for the 14th game again, and if the results matched, the system's fairness would be proven. The crowd noticed Harin did not object, so everyone began cooperating and writing down their votes. After the class monitor compared the results, she found that they matched the voting system's outcome. Suji immediately apologized for her earlier accusation and, using the excuse of collecting homework, took everyone's notebooks from the podium. However, the class monitor soon realized the list had been swapped. Suji had used a fake list she had prepared in advance and switched it out while collecting homework. Next, she compared everyone's handwriting to identify who voted for her. After a lengthy comparison, Suji discovered that the A-level Harin, Wu-ai, and the short-haired bob cut all voted for her. Could it be that Harin had been manipulating things from the very beginning? If that were true, Harin could demote her back to F level at any time. Meanwhile, a student who had been bullied was forced by Wu-ai to crawl on the ground like a cat and even eat a whole stick of cat food. Unable to watch any longer, Jaun stepped in to stop the short-haired bob cut, which only enraged Wu-ai. She sneered and told Jaun that if she wanted to play the hero, She should eat the cat food herself. Joan looked at the trembling round glasses on the ground, then resolutely picked up the cat food. Just then, Harin walked over and sternly reprimanded Wuai for her excessive bullying. However, Suji was disgusted by Harin's hypocrisy. Frustrated by the vote manipulation, she grabbed a pen from the desk and hurled it at Harin's head, but quickly apologized, claiming she meant to throw it at Jaun but missed. For the first time ever, a C-level student had attacked an A-level student. The short-haired bob cut grabbed Suji's collar in retaliation, but the game rules stated that only A-level players could attack lower-level ones. Suji pointed out that she wasn't A-level and neither was Bob Cut, rules set by high-ranking players. Harin then ordered Bob Cut to let go. Suji reminded Jaun of her promise to destroy the pyramid game and not let anyone manipulate them. Harin, suppressing her anger, insisted she was just an ordinary student. It's worth noting that both the trainee and the class monitor witnessed the entire scene. After the outburst, Suji felt some regret. Soon Joan found her. Suji realized it was better to destroy the game herself than let others control her rank. This time, the two truly cooperated. They then sought out Round Glasses, who revealed that the class hadn't always been like this. A year ago, Wuai suggested a game, and Harin said nothing to oppose it. At first, they voted for the most deserving person and granted small privileges, like skipping chores or avoiding long lines. Gradually, the privileges became corrupt. Higher-ranked students looked down on lower-ranked ones, and soon it became a rule that anyone of a lower rank could be bullied. Eventually, the F level was introduced, marking the lowest of the low. After the rule to isolate F-level students was established, bullying them required permission. The first person to become F-level was Yirim, who dropped out a few months later. Later, Suji learned that Jaun had also received the incriminating video, so she immediately confronted the class monitor, suspecting her to be the sender. The monitor admitted it without hesitation, explaining that the original video was only accessible to A-level students. Suji couldn't understand why the monitor would help her. The class monitor revealed she was against forcing anyone to record humiliating videos and wanted to prevent the situation from worsening. However, Suji was puzzled about one more thing. Why had the class monitor, who made the rule to protect F-level students, not intervened sooner? Suji then proposed forming a D-level alliance, but the monitor dismissed it. She questioned why Suji assumed she would help when she had no reason to disrupt the status quo that benefited her position and power. The monitor was blunt. She would never leave her circle and advised Suji to act cautiously, as higher-level students could offer D-level students benefits, and most D-level students had connections to high-ranking ones. As the class monitor left the classroom, Suji followed, only to run into Harin and Wuai. Thanks to the monitor's hints, Suji realized why every student accepted the game, because their parents were connected, preventing them from openly resisting. It was Harin who had proposed the game in the first place, aiming to create a class hierarchy. The monitor initially refused to participate but was mocked by Harin, who claimed she was born to rule. Suji's plan was to rally D-level students to rise to C-level. Since everyone desires advancement, she aimed to exploit that desire. Each person could cast up to 5 votes, and a minimum of 5 votes was needed to reach C-level. By coordinating votes among the 3 of them and 2 additional D-level students, all 5 could become C-level. With more C-level students than D-level, the pyramid would invert into a square with a wide base. To further his plan, Suji secretly took photos of her classmates' information in the office, intending to select 2 suitable candidates. The first target was Nahi, but things didn't go smoothly. Suji analyzed Nahi's profile and concluded she was prideful, loved winning, and had a strong desire for control. Meanwhile, Suji had discovered that Nahi's submissive personality made her resistant to persuasion, confirming that their plan to recruit her had failed. Sure enough, when Jaun approached Nahi, she found Harin already waiting. It turned out Nahi had confided in Harin, complaining that Suji had been pressuring her lately and that Jaun had even been tailing her, which made Nahi suspect Suji's involvement. Harin then made a surprising offer, inviting Suji to sit with her, claiming their relationship would become closer than her bond with Jaun. Without hesitation, Suji refused. Hearing this, Harin dropped the polite facade, revealing a sinister expression. She questioned how much Suji knew about Joan and Nahi, hinting that the two weren't as innocent as they seemed. She warned Suji not to underestimate her classmates and suggested she see for herself. With 14 days remaining until the 15th game, Round Glasses was horrified upon learning of Harin's real intentions. She expressed her disappointment in Suji, who had been acting too secretively. Round Glasses, already burdened by the harshness of the game, felt she couldn't take it anymore. After Round Glasses was bullied again, her friend approached her, feigning concern. The manipulation worked, but it was all part of Harin's plan. One day, the new Chinese teacher found Round Glasses hiding and crying. This moment reminded Suji of her own experiences with the homeroom teacher's harsh punishment. She couldn't trust anyone in the building anymore, not even the teacher in front of her, who seemed so determined. After school one day, Suji and Jaun were discussing Round Glasses, both acknowledging that she wasn't a bad person. Suddenly, Jaun's attention shifted to a convenience store clerk heading toward the building. Jaun recognized the clerk, and moments later, the clerk was caught trying to steal something from a classroom. Suji blocked his exit. The plot then thickened when Suji discovered that the clerk was Yirim's brother, and after cornering him, learned that Yirim had been a victim of the endless bullying that had plagued the school. This revelation brought a significant shift in Suji's understanding of the game. Just as things seemed to be escalating, a video call was abruptly cut off. Jaun rushed toward the class, realizing that the clerk had been worried about being discovered by the patrolling security guard. As Suji pieced together the events, she suspected that the clerk was a hacker involved in the pyramid game. Eventually, the clerk admitted that his purpose was to uncover the truth about his sister's torment. The next day, Suji made a strategic move by involving the clerk in her plan. She knew that adding one more ally would be crucial, especially with the next game only days away. Suji planned to exploit the weaknesses of his classmates, and she had originally tried to use Nahi's hacking skills. However, with the clerk now in the picture, she intended to use him to steal information instead. Meanwhile, Round Glasses continued to endure bullying. Suji wanted to step in and help but realized she couldn't disrupt her larger plan. Instead, she took a quiet moment in the bathroom to console Round Glasses, which allowed them to reconcile their past misunderstandings. Later, Jaun returned with bad news. Her efforts to persuade Jae-hyung hadn't made progress. At the same time, Suji's father insisted on attending the open class, but his presence was met with scorn from the other parents, who were quick to judge him. Noticing this, Suji's father deliberately raised his voice as he approached the teacher, drawing the attention of the principal, which only worsened the situation. As the tension built, Suji continued her preparations, determined to gain an advantage in the upcoming game. Suji realizes that someone who appears to be helping her may actually be playing the pyramid game, a twisted power game, where each participant tries to outmaneuver the others. This person is linked to the training student, a figure who holds a powerful secret about Suji's situation, which she uses as leverage. Suji, knowing that the training student's company is highly influential, considers how to use that to her advantage in disrupting the game's rules. Meanwhile, a teacher reveals to all the parents and school leaders that the second-year class is going through a crisis, indicating that Suji's investigation into the training student has led to the discovery that the student is the only one opposing the game. In an unexpected turn, Suji's plan to have the training student sabotage the game backfires when the student is pressured to act, claiming that they can only escape the manipulation by dying. In a shocking moment, the middle section student, holding a craft knife, attempts to harm themselves. When the door is opened, it's revealed that the injury is superficial, but the damage is done. The focus of blame immediately shifts to Suji. Suji is facing the consequences of violating the rules of the game, where her actions have angered the other students and led to a formal punishment. She is being accused of bullying a non-small level student without approval, which triggers a disciplinary meeting. Despite her initial belief that the game's structure could be disrupted, Suji is now at risk of losing the support of her alliance and the vote necessary to continue her plan. Harin, who has been pulling the strings behind the scenes, manipulates the situation so that Suji faces public shame. Harin informed Suji that it wasn't over yet. So guys, this is the first chapter of the story. Please, Like and drop a heart if you want the continuation of the story. See you next time.